At approximately 9 a.m, Friday the 14th of September 2007, 14-year-old Andrew Gosden walked into Doncaster train station and approached the ticket desk. He asked for a ticket to London's King's Cross. The ticket seller informed Andrew that a return ticket would cost just 50p more. Andrew declined. He was clear. He only wanted a one-way ticket. At the time, the exchange felt insignificant, but it lingered in the ticket seller's mind. And when she later learned that she was one of the last confirmed people to ever speak to Andrew Gosden, she understood why that conversation stuck with her. Why was a 14-year-old boy travelling to London on a school morning instead of going to class? Why was Andrew so insistent on a one-way ticket despite having enough money for a return? And why, shortly after Andrew arrived at London's King's Cross station, did he seemingly vanish without a trace? These questions have never been answered. What follows are facts, observations, and unexplained details. Some may be crucial, others may mean nothing at all. It will be up to you to decide. This is one of the most unsettling and mysterious missing person cases in British history. This is the case of Andrew Gosden. Andrew Gosden was born on the 10th of July, 1993, in Doncaster, England. Andrew was the second child of parents Kevin and Glenys Gosden. Andrew has an older sister named Charlotte, whom he had a very close relationship to. The pair were often described as best friends rather than siblings. The family resided in a middle-class suburb of Doncaster, South Yorkshire, in England. Andrew had grandparents who lived in London, and it will be up to you to decide if this is relevant as you learn more about this case. Andrew Gosden was an incredibly gifted student. Missing children are, of course, often described positively, but in this case, this was no exaggeration. Andrew was on the Young, Gifted and Talented programme, which was designed to enhance the development of children in the top 1% of academic performance. Andrew was predicted to achieve straight A's in all of his exams once he had finished high school. Andrew was already a prize-winner mathematician and was destined to attend Cambridge University, one of the finest universities in the world, equivalent to Harvard or Yale. Andrew was indifferent towards school. He often found it too easy, as it offered him very little challenge. Andrew shared very little of his school life with his parents, however he did have a small group of like-minded friends. Andrew was described as fairly quiet, but there was no indication of bullying or isolation. Andrew had a keen interest in rock and heavy metal music. He shared this interest with his older sister Charlotte, and the pair could be described as leaning into the goth subculture. Andrew was an avid gamer and enjoyed playing on his Xbox and possibly most importantly, his PlayStation Portable, which may prove pertinent to this case. Andrew Gosden did own a mobile phone between the ages of 10 and 12, but rarely used them, and he often lost them. This was in the mid-2000s, meaning that phones had very little of the capabilities that they have today. Andrew's parents offered to replace Andrew's phone for his 12th birthday. Andrew declined the offer, stating that he would prefer a new Xbox. Was there a reason that Andrew did not require a new mobile phone? Did he acquire a different one without his parents' knowledge, or did he simply just not want one? The only computer within the home belonged to Charlotte, Andrew's older sister. Andrew showed no interest in the laptop and had no access to it whilst alone. It is also of note that Charlotte had only purchased the laptop 8 weeks prior to his disappearance. Andrew did not have an email address to anyone's knowledge and had not set up an online account on his Xbox. During the 2006 summer holidays, Andrew attended a 2-week residential school at Doncaster University as part of the Young, Gifted and Talented programme. Andrew, who was usually very unenthused about school, returned from this trip with an uncharacteristically excited demeanour. Did Andrew acquire a new lease of life towards education due to spending time around like-minded people? Or was this a result of him meeting someone who caused this effect on him. There were several out-of-the-ordinary circumstances that occurred in the days and weeks leading up to the disappearance of Andrew Gosden. During the 2007 school summer holidays, just weeks prior to his disappearance, Andrew's parents suggested that he should travel to London to stay with his grandmother. Andrew chose not to go. He was incredibly competent and confident using public transport in London. He had been many times with his parents, and being the gifted child that he was, it was believed that he would have been more than able to navigate the busy and possibly confusing transport of the nation's capital. On the 1st of September 2007, PE teacher Christopher Meaden, a teacher at Andrew's school, ended his own life. Does this unfortunate fact have any relevance to the disappearance of Andrew Gosden, or is it merely an unrelated happenstance just a week prior? At the time of Andrew's disappearance, he was just 8 days into the new school year. During this time, Andrew did something extremely unusual, which broke his usual routine. After finishing the school day, he did not take the school bus home. He instead opted to walk the 4-mile journey home. It is estimated that this would have taken him around an hour and 20 minutes. When asked about this, Andrew offered no explanation. His parents, Kevin and Glenys, did not question him on this, feeling that it was not out of the ordinary for their 14-year-old son to decide to walk home. Was this simply a case of a teenage boy practicing independence and enjoying a late summer walk home, or did Andrew have a different agenda when deciding to embark on these walks home? The evening before the day of the disappearance was described by Gosden's father as uneventful. Andrew spent time with his father assembling a puzzle. He then spent some time with his mother watching some television, and the family ate dinner as a four for the very last time. This fact was unbeknownst to Kevin, Glenys and Charlotte, but was this fact unknown to Andrew? On the 14th of September 2007, Andrew was difficult to wake up and he seemed very irritable. Andrew's mother noted that this behaviour was unusual for Andrew, who usually awoke on time without the help of his parents. Was something troubling Andrew on this particular morning? Andrew's parents both depart for work before 8 a.m, leaving Andrew, who was wearing his school uniform. Nothing seemed untoward, and he was to leave shortly after his parents and go to school. This, however, did not happen. At 8:05, Andrew left the family home and walked through Westfield Park to his usual bus stop. A family friend, Reverend Alan Murray, witnessed Andrew and observed him in his school uniform. This was not out of the ordinary, as he would often take this route on the way to the bus stop. Andrew, however, was not going to the bus stop on this day. He would instead walk to a cash machine where he withdrew £200. There was a total of £214 in his bank account. However, the cash machine only allowed sums of £20 to be withdrawn. This means, for all intents and purposes, Andrew cleared his bank account. Why did he do this? At approximately 8:20, Andrew returned home. He was observed as such on his neighbour's CCTV system. Whilst at home, he placed his school uniform in the washing machine and his school blazer on the back of his chair. Andrew's parents were due home from work before he was to return from school. Was Andrew trying to convince his parents that he had in fact been to school and was expecting to be home shortly after them? He changed into casual clothing consisting of a black slipknot t-shirt, black jeans and a backpack featuring several patches from metal bands that he enjoyed. He then took his wallet, his keys and his PlayStation Portable. These are the items that he took with him. However, the items that he did not take with him seem to pose more questions. Andrew did not take the charger for his PlayStation Portable. Did he believe that he would be back prior to the console's battery running flat? He did not take a coat or any other clothing. Did he expect to be back home before the mild, late summer warmth faded. Andrew had just over £100 in cash in his piggy bank, saved up from birthdays and Christmases. Despite clearing his bank account, Andrew clearly felt that £200 would suffice for the purposes of his journey, and he did not feel that he would need all of his money. At approximately 8:30, Andrew left his home for the final time. He was seen walking past his neighbour's CCTV system once more. He headed down Littlemore Lane towards Westfield Park. He then completed the 18-minute walk to Doncaster train station, which brings us back to where our story began. Andrew purchased a one-way ticket to London King's Cross station for £31.40. The ticket seller informed him that a return ticket is only 50p more. Andrew instead insisted that he did not require a return ticket. Why was Andrew so reluctant to get a return ticket? We know that he had enough money to purchase the ticket. The circumstances seem to suggest that Andrew expected to return home, at least before he would require a court, all of his funds, or the charger for his PlayStation Portable. Did Andrew have an alternative method of returning home, or was there another reason that he did not require the return ticket? Meanwhile, staff at Macaulay Catholic High School noted that Andrew was not at school and no explanation was given. As such, they decided to call home. In an act of cruel coincidence, the number the school had for Andrew's parents was incorrect by just one digit. As such, the phone call was never made. At 9:35, Andrew boarded the train to London's King's Cross alone. A woman later reported that she sat nearby to Andrew on the train. She described him as being quiet and deeply engaged on his PlayStation Portable. The train from Doncaster to London arrived at the platform at 11:20. Andrew Gosden was seen leaving the main entrance to the station at 11:25, alone. This image is the last confirmed sighting of Andrew Gosden. Upon returning home from work, Kevin and Glenys observed that Andrew's blazer was over his chair and his uniform was in the washing machine. Due to these circumstances, the parents assumed that Andrew had been to school, returned home, and now was either playing video games or completing homework. Was this Andrew's intention? That evening, the Gosden family and Reverend Alan Murray sat down for dinner. Reverend Alan Murray, of course, is the family friend who observed Andrew in Westfield Park that same morning. It took until 7 p.m. for Andrew's parents to become suspicious and call for Andrew. When they received no response and found no sign of him within the home, they contacted Macaulay Catholic High School. Andrew's sister Charlotte has since stated that she still remembers the horror on her parents' faces when they were told that Andrew had never attended school on this day. The family were initially concerned that something may have happened on the way home from school. Perhaps Andrew had decided to walk home as he had done twice already this school year. To find out that he had never attended, despite all the circumstances indicated that he had, this was both confusing and terrifying. The family contacted police immediately after speaking with the school. The family also wasted no time themselves. Charlotte and Kevin set off in the car and began to scout all possible routes Andrew may have taken to school. This search found nothing. Within 3 hours of discovering Andrew was missing, a missing person leaflet was produced and circulated. The Gosden family and friends searched until the early hours the following morning. The South Yorkshire Police also conducted a large and relentless search. They too would find nothing. 3 days later, the police spoke to the ticket seller at Doncaster train station. She would relate to police the strange conversation that she had had with Andrew, where he would refuse to purchase a return ticket despite it just being 50p more. The police returned to the Gosden family and confirmed to them that Andrew had travelled to London with a one-way ticket. The Gosden family were initially relieved because, as mentioned, Andrew had grandparents in London and was competent dealing with the London transport. Andrew, of course, had not made contact with any London family. South Yorkshire Police contacted the London Metropolitan Police as well as the British Transport Police. They initially could not pick out Andrew from any CCTV. However, 3 weeks later, after scouring much of the footage, they eventually identified Andrew in the footage that we see now. Police issued a mass witness appeal to the public. Andrew Gosden's face may be only second to Madeleine McCann as the most synonymous to missing children in British history. The investigation had now focused on London and the surrounding area of King's Cross Station. Finally, there was a break in the investigation and the first lead. A woman answered the witness appeal, stating that she had saw a boy that she believed to be Andrew at a Pizza Hut in Oxford Street. This was just an hour walk from King's Cross Station. This sighting was unfortunately never confirmed to be Andrew, and we still don't know who this boy was. So where was 14-year-old Andrew Gosden? Why had the boy genius decided to go to London? Had he come to harm? Did he even want to be found? The police investigated the possibility that Gosden had gone to London to meet someone that he had met over the internet. The internet was in its infancy. It was, of course, not in the form that we know it today. Teenagers did not have the constant access that they have now. As stated, Gosden did not have a mobile phone, at least to anyone's knowledge, and had no computer access at the home. This was, of course, for his sister's laptop, which he did not have access to. The police retrieved data from Andrew's school computer, as well as the local library. However, they found no digital evidence of any activity by Andrew Gosden. Police investigators sent the unique serial number of Andrew's PSP to Sony headquarters. Sony were able to confirm that there was no record of any account being set up on the internet and no communication established on the device. The device had in fact never been connected to the internet. There have been several theories put forward to establish why Andrew Gosden travelled to London. The first is that there was a YouTube gathering taking place on the 14th of September 2007 in London. This theory, however, has been dismissed by the Gosden family. There is nothing to suggest that Andrew Gosden attended this event or had any interest in YouTube. YouTube was, of course, still in its infancy in 2007. There are, however, far more plausible theories as to why Andrew may have travelled to London. As we know, Andrew was a big music fan. American rock band 30 Seconds to Mars were performing at Brixton Academy on the 14th of September 2007. Images from the gig have emerged, and some bear a striking resemblance to Andrew Gosden. These images were taken on the night of the disappearance. Are these images of Andrew Gosden, or simply of another young male with distinguishing glasses and long hair? The Gosden family have not publicly commented on these images. Images have also surfaced from an illegal squat party in the Elephant and Castle area of London. Is this Andrew Gosden? If it is, how did a 14-year-old boy with minimal internet access find out about such a party? If it is Andrew, did he attend accompanied? Owing to Andrew being in possession of his wallet and bank card, the Gosden family transferred more money into Andrew's account. The family had hoped that he could use the money should he need it. They also hoped that any use of the bank card could be traced and Andrew would be found. This unfortunately was not the case, and there has been no activity on the card since the day of Andrew's disappearance. In November of 2008, a year following the disappearance, a man visited Leominster Police Station in Herefordshire, England. The man used the intercom station, requesting to speak to a police officer. The man stated that he had information on Andrew Gosden. What makes this particularly intriguing is that this particular police station is in a cul-de-sac, meaning that it is somewhat out of the way. Anyone wishing to attend this police station must do so with significant effort. The man attended late in the evening. As such, there were no police officers in the reception of the station. The man was informed that a police officer would attend the station as soon as possible to speak with him. By the time the police officer had arrived, the man was gone. Police later appealed for the man to make himself known. However, he did not. Who was this man? What did he know? Why didn't he wait for the police? Did he come to harm prior to arriving, or did he have a sudden change of heart about divulging the information that he had? The second strange event occurred in June of 2018. A male approached the Gosden family and stated that they believed that they had spoken to Andrew on an online chat. The male stated that the person that they spoke to had the username Andy Roo. What makes this unsettling is Andy Roo is a pet name that Andrew's mother Glenys used for her son. This becomes more unsettling as Glenys had never released that piece of information to any media. Andy Roo stated to the male that they were having a very difficult time and asked for £200 to cover rent. Andy Roo stated that his partner had recently left him. The male offered to send the money, however Andy Roo would state something deeply intriguing. Andy Roo stated that he did not have a bank account because he had run away when he was 14 years old. The chat was very brief after this and the pair lost contact. The witness reported the circumstances to police, however this too was a dead end. Who was Andy Roo? Was this Andrew Gosden or a mere coincidence? The first theory that we'll explore has been coined the fun day out theory. This theory suggests that Andrew travelled to London with the intention of returning home. This theory may be supported by several pieces of evidence. Andrew decided to put on his school uniform and then placed it in the washing machine, seemingly to convince his parents that he went to school. This seems to suggest that Andrew was buying some time as opposed to actually trying to run away. Andrew also didn't take all of his available money, a coat, or his charge for his PSP. A boy who expected to be gone for a significant amount of time, let alone forever, would surely be better prepared. Was this simply a case of a gifted child becoming so bored with school that he travelled to London for excitement, only to come to harm? This theory suggests that Andrew was already in contact with someone in London, and this person had an insidious agenda. Did such a person arrange to meet Andrew in London and promise him transport home? Is this why Andrew was so insistent that he did not require a return ticket? People who believe this theory also think that several pieces of evidence support this theory. The first is that Andrew was difficult to rouse on the day of his disappearance. Was he perhaps speaking to an unknown person on a secret phone into the early hours of the morning? Was he perhaps nervous about his impending trip to London? Is this why Andrew did not ask for a replacement phone when he was offered one? Supporters of this theory suggest that Andrew may have met such a person during his 2-week trip on the Young, Gifted and Talented programme. Is this why perhaps Andrew came back from that trip so excited? Supporters of the theory also point to the unexplained reasons why Andrew opted to walk the 4-mile walk home rather than take the school bus. Did Andrew take this walk to speak to said unknown person on the phone just days prior to his disappearance? Finally, supporters of this theory suggest that when Andrew arrived at London King's Cross, he seems to be looking for someone. Do these images simply show a boy looking around at the busyness of London, or is this a boy looking for someone he had pre-arranged to meet. Andrew was, of course, a very bright boy. Supporters of the theory believed that this unknown person would have to be someone Andrew trusted. Was Andrew even promised a new PSP whilst in London? Is this why he didn't need the charger? Some people online have become suspicious at Reverend Alan Murray. He was, after all, one of the last people who claimed that they saw Andrew Gosden. It is unclear whether the dinner he attended at the Gosden family home was pre-planned prior to this day. Was this someone who had caused Andrew harm, staying close to the scene, as we know that some killers do? This theory seems to be based on little fact and ignores several pieces of evidence, such as the fact that Andrew was confirmed to be in London after the sighting of Reverend Alan Murray. Alan Murray was investigated by police and very quickly discounted. Some theories online suggest that Christopher Meaden's decision to end his own life may have some relevance to the disappearance of Andrew Gosden. Was this decision caused by some kind of guilt over his actions with Andrew? This theory again seems to be based on very little evidence and seems unrelated. This theory ignores most of the facts of the case, and it would not explain why Andrew decided to travel to London, and it also ignores all of the circumstances around the trip to London. In September of 2009, 2 years after the disappearance, Kevin Gosden appealed to members of the gay community for help to find his son. The family have explored the idea that Andrew may have been struggling to come to terms with his sexuality. Children with these issues are, of course, more likely to run away from home. Andrew was raised in a Christian household, however, not staunchly religious. The Gosdens have stated that they were a very open household and would have accepted Andrew no matter what or who he was. Supporters of this theory point to the online chat with Andy Rue. Although there is no specific mention that the conversation had a sexual tone, some of the circumstances may support this theory. Andy Rue refers to his partner, which is sometimes a term that members of the gay community use when referring to their same-sex partner. Supporters of the theory also question why a male would be willing to send £200 to another male that they had never met. The supporters of the theory believe that there must have been romantic feelings involved. This theory is not supported by any of the circumstances in the lead up to the disappearance. Andrew was unconditionally loved by his family, and the family have stated that no such conversations took place around his sexuality. Therefore, it is very unlikely that Andrew would simply run away for this reason. On the 11th of January 2021, South Yorkshire Police stated that they had arrested 2 men, aged 38 and 45, on suspicion of kidnapping and human trafficking. These arrests were in relation to the disappearance of Andrew Gosden, and for the first time in 14 years, the police were publicly acknowledging the possibility that Andrew may have come to harm at the hands of others. Both men, however, were later released under investigation. In July of 2023, police stated that the arrests were due to an anonymous tip-off that they had received. No information has been released to the public in relation to the details of this tip-off. In September of 2023, South Yorkshire Police announced that both men had been released without charge. Police issued a further statement stating that they were confident that the 2 men arrested played no part in Gosden's disappearance. Andrew Gosden has never been found. No confirmed sightings, no confirmed communications, no financial activity, no digital footprint, and no physical trace. Despite one of the biggest missing person campaigns in British history, Andrew Gosden vanished into London that September morning, and he never came back. Andrew's family have never stopped looking. They have spoken openly about the possibility that Andrew may still be alive, and the possibility that he may not be. Andrew Gosden was not a troubled child. He was not running from abuse, he was not failing in school, and he was not isolated. He was intelligent, and he was loved. And yet, on the morning of the 14th of September 2007, Andrew chose to step on a train carrying only what he believed he would need, and he disappeared from the world that he knew. Why did he go to London? Who was he expecting to see? And why, after all of these years, has not a single concrete answer emerged? Perhaps the most unsettling question of all is this: did Andrew Gosden intend to disappear? Or did something happen to him just moments after these images were taken?